Ever since I was a little kid, I've always had a fascination with tall buildings. I must have asked my dad, what's the tallest building in the world? Because I remember one day in kindergarten for show and tell, I brought in a model of the Empire State Building that I had made. It was this really long and skinny cardboard box that I had painted brown, and I had dotted it all up and down with yellow squares as windows. Fast forward to my 20s and 30s, living in New York City. I mean, the experience was just a masterclass in architecture and skyscrapers, urban planning, especially since I lived less than a mile from the World Trade Center site. And so, moving to Kansas in my late 30s, I'm not surprised to find that I was so drawn to the Epic Center. Visually, it's just a distinct building with its slanted roof. It's a really nice silhouette of a skyline from practically every angle. But my first few years back in Wichita, so 2011, 12, 13, I was doing these art fair, art festival events, the kind where you set up a booth and you sell prints. I was really proud of all my New York City pictures, but people kept asking, do you have anything of Wichita? So a lot of this stuff originated from that period. I'd say I was trying to create decorative images, so, pictures that people would like above their fireplace. But I've since moved on to doing more personal work, and by that I mean photography focused more on my own conceptual interests. Anyway, this summer I've just really been sorting through my images, and I was shocked at how many pictures of the Epic Center I had. Still haven't figured out what I'm going to do with all these images, but somewhere along the line I kept hearing that the original proposal for the Epic Center was not actually a single tower, it was actually a two-tower design. But if you look online, you can't find any architectural renderings or any images of original plans from when it was proposed in the early 80s. And so I went to the Advanced Learning Library, which is about 5 years old, and it's just a lot of fun to go there. I looked through old issues of the Wichita Eagle Beacon on microfilm, which I had never used, and with the help of a newspapers.com account, I was able to find quite a few images. The earliest image that I found of the Epic Center was 1982, and there's this image of these two towers that look sort of like they were made with Legos, sort of blocky and not very elegant. Then several months later, they scaled it down and proposed a four-tower complex, actually of four 10-story buildings. And then several months after that, they went back to make it the Twin Tower proposal. And that image to me of two epic centers facing one another is really iconic. It's a little bit sad that that never came to fruition. But in 1987, the tower opened, and I think was pretty celebrated. I remember they used to put a Christmas tree up at the top of the building in the holidays. And so I just like these deep dives. Sometimes I just have an itch to do research, a curiosity, fascination. Sometimes maybe you could even say an obsession. For this video, I've been spending a lot of time scouting locations and adding to my collection of pictures of the Epic Center. I find that it's a really great building to be able to spot from lots of areas around the city, how it pokes out in between a clearing of trees. It just sort of fits with my projects that I've done recently, where there's some sort of geographic limitation, whether it's a 1 mile radius around my house or pictures taken from the perimeter of Kansas. These Epic Center pictures are like arrows all pointing at the exact same spot, which is the heart of Wichita. And to know there were plans for another tower, it's a little hard when you realize it's just an empty lot. But you always have to think of the future and what could be built in another 40 years.